Why, hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. This is Otaku's Showboat. Today, I've done many things. I've done many things since the last time we met. So, let's start off with what did we do in Factorio the last time that we met? Oh boy. Well, I set up Grodd, Yotoi, and bedding. Those are the three main things. As I got into like the actual setup with all the infrastructure for the bedding, I have since wrapped up all of the various module inclusions on the Yotoi and the Grodd, and I doubled the Yotoi. I doubled the Yotoi from last time as one of the first things that I did, just to make sure that I have very, very sufficient amounts of stuff as we go through things here. And the bedding is now full up. It's glorious. Also set up cotton gut food last time, if I can remember where I did that exactly. Here's the Grodd. I don't think I scaled the Grodd yet, but I did set up the food somewhere. It's somewhere. Relatively nearby. I don't really remember exactly where. The base is getting so big now that it's taking a while to find things. I guess I could search by station names for cotton gut food and then click here. The food is here. Yeah, it's up here now. That's where that is. It's in the north side of the base. Now, between streams, I've added a bit more to my rail network. I have completed this section up to the north here with the top rail line in particular, and set up more squares to work with. 3 brand new empty squares to work with, even though I've sort of done a few things up above already without even using these. But just so that we can go through the list here, I don't remember if I exactly when I did this, but I have scaled up the bitumen. I don't remember talking about this last time at all, but I have, among many other things, scaled up the bitumen production by increasing everything to Mark II and redoing the build basically from what was this as a baseline Mark I build to this, which was the red belt Mark I build. Is just double the previous thing, to now being just Mark II, which makes the same amount as this infrastructure here. It makes the same amount in about that much space, and I have 2 of those, actually 3 of those, because I've replaced one of the Mark I setups with a Mark II setup. So, basically added another 1,200 bitumen per second to the bitumen build for net output. So I have plenty now. I have plenty. I believe it's 48,000. 48 plus 200,000. So there's 1,000 there, and then there's 4, 8, 12. So yeah, a bit of bitumen now. 2,200 per second, I believe, of bitumen from the oil sand extractors here, which I did upgrade to Mark II. They do have the Guar modules on them, because this was before I've come to a very interesting realization, which I hadn't realized. I didn't remember if it had happened to be in patch notes at one point, but as it turns out, mining drills can break the tick rate cap. I didn't like remember or even know about this, but it seems to be a thing. It seems to be a thing, but we'll get to that because it's a bit of a discussion. I have set up powdered and crushed quartz up here. This is this is a red belt each of powdered and crushed quartz up here, just to have them online, because as you can probably tell, it's a bit of throughput on the quartz itself, and yeah, you could probably tell there's a little bit of shenaniganery going on right here. So these have Bodos in them. A singular Bodo, because, well, that's all I need. And I am getting two belts out here for each one. Of course, it says that the mining speed is 138 per second. I'm using 60. I'm using 60 with quotes. About that. You see, even if, like, I assumed that because the game limits the output of recipes to the processing of a recipe to the tick rate of the game at maximum speed. So you get a cycle, a tick, which is 60 cycles per second. So 60 cycles per second max, which with ore is usually 1 ore per cycle. I was thinking, okay, well, this will give me 60 per second max, and you know, I've set up all of these to be 60 per second max. As it turns out, the 2 Guar modules I don't think give me 60 on a Mark II crystal mine, but Bodos sure did. Here's the thing though, I could actually have 4 red belts out from this, and it works. You can see that this is now moving, and yeah, about that. Yeah, So, besides that, I now have salt. I now have a bit more salt. Just 16 belts of red belts of salt going in here. It's a bit more than 60 per second with a singular Bodos on a salt mine. As it turns out, a salt mine will actually give 460 ore per second, and it will actually give it to me. This entire time I'd been assuming that it was going to cap at 60 with the tick rate. As it turns out, that is wrong. And it does actually give the entire 460 units per second. Something is going on. I think at some point, I'm trying to remember, I think at one point there was in the patch notes to the game that the game adjusts the output to compensate for the tick rate. I think that was a thing. I just completely forgot about it. Because I think what's happening here is that the game is adjusting how many units are output per cycle and is still only like doing 1 cycle per tick. It's just giving you more units per cycle to meet the speed of the mine. I think that's what's happening. But to this point, up until this point, I had assumed that it was going to cap at 60, at 1 unit per cycle, 60 cycles per second as the max possible speed of a mining drill. As it turns out, that is wrong. The mining drill will give the entire output if you're throwing it into a chest. If you're outputting into a chest, it will give you the entire throughput, even if it's above 60. So, the next logical conclusion to this is that we have access to these things called mega mines. And the thing about the megamines is that for chromium, for nickel, for zinc, for titanium, for lead, for tin, even, I think, they don't have a fluid input for megamines. They cost the drill heads for the megamines, but they don't need a fluid. And if you put a Bodo in one of these, you get 690 per second off of a Mark I Bodo. And at Purple Science, when we get access to beacons, we can reduce the power consumption by 80%. Making these effectively free with a billion units of ore to chew through, which at the max here would take 400 hours to mine out the mine. Over 400 hours at max production and consumption, therefore. Just a little bit powerful, this. This is just a bit powerful, considering that this is 23 red belts. I think that's 23. 690 over 30? Yeah, 23 red belts. I currently have, like 14. I think that this is 14, and then the belt in there. So yeah, it's 14 red belts. Does it support all those output belts? Yes, yes, it does. That's the thing. It absolutely supports it. You see the number there? That number there is not going down. That number is not going down. This is totally giving, outputting, and it's still waiting for space and destination. It can do more. It can do up to 23. And I've tested this. I've tested this up here at this mine. At this mine where I've set up, like I have to go here to show this, but if I rotate this mine to go into this deposit, I have, surrounding this output here, 23 of these mini loaders, right? So that's 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 7 plus 7. 9 plus 7 plus 7, which is 23. And we can see that it will be full throughput out, and this will be neutral as it's outputting into these other warehouses. Just to show this, because I found this completely, like, it dumbfounded me that this was actually behaving this way. All right, look, these are full throughput belts, 23 of them, and you can see it's not increasing. It's not decreasing. We've got a green light here. It's outputting fully. It's producing 690 per second. Without any syngas whatsoever. Just, you know, a half, or not a half, more than a half. It's, it would consume a little bit more than 1 drill head per second. Because a drill head, I think, is 5 megajoules or something like that. So, for the low cost of just over 1 drill head per second, you can get 690 of your ore of choice of any of the ore types that do not consume fluid on a megamine, which includes things like titanium, which includes things like aluminium, saving you the coal gas, which includes things like lead, here with 4 outputs, which includes things like zinc with 4 outputs. Yeah, it's a thing, and this fundamentally has altered my base going forward, this realization. So I now have mined a lot, sufficient quantities of salt, chrome, lead, titanium, aluminium, nickel, and zinc. And for all of those ore types, I am now consuming the ore that is coming from the megamines. All of the syngas and coal gas production that was eating up a bunch of bitumen no longer operates. I can remove these now. I'm not actually mining these ore patches anymore. It's all being brought in by train at this point. This does mean that I do need a bit more space between the train stations here in order to actually input at scale, considering I have to make sure that I'm able to output however many belts from this at a time. I have also taken the opportunity to make my chromium processing Mark II pretty much in its entirety. So all of this is now Mark II, and it's rock solid. I have sufficient CO2 production now. In fact, my entire base for producing biomass is now running off of aromatics. For the longest time, I have had aromatics, or I have had logs producing biomass. I did logs into biomass, but as it turns out, that has added up over time, and my logs, even though I'm making a freaking yellow belt of logs, 15 per second, it was insufficient for the base. So I decided that, you know what, it's slower per machine to process. Yeah, there's no radar right here. It's slower per machine to process the aromatics, but it's 2 aromatics per single unit of biomass. And I'm making more than 1,200 aromatics per second right now. I'm making a few units of aromatics right now. That's not really doing anything, because I'm making benzene and aromatics out of tailings. I have both of these things. The benzene is my primary fuel source for a fluid fuel, where my aromatics are there to get used wherever I need them. So you know what? I decided that I would retrofit the entire base of nearly the entire base so that I can have the aromatics producing the biomass everywhere and save on the logs, and that has been rather nice. What else? Because that wasn't the only thing that I've done. Oh yeah, another consequence of this is I'm not really using any acetylene anymore either, because, you know, the lead and the titanium are coming out of megamines that don't use acetylene anymore. Because I've done this, assume that this is going to change, potentially, at some point. I would go out on a limb and say that coming soon to a megamine near you will be acetylene, syngas, and coal gas and steam requirements to use these mines. I would imagine that will happen unless they manage to actually fix the issue of being able to use the life modules in the mining machines. If that is rectified, it's no longer an issue. Because, yeah, Bodos make them go fast. Bodos do make things go fast. Let's see, what else? I expanded my hot air production wherever my stone is. Where's the stone? Here. I added more hot air, just a bit of it. I have put my empty honeycombs onto the train network. I now have empty honeycombs. Why did I put my empty honeycombs on the train network? Because I now have somewhere over the rainbow. Where is it? Where did I put it? I don't remember. Ahem. I have advanced castings now. I did decide to make these at this point. Advanced castings are expensive, with big quotations around them. They eat up green silicon, or green sic, or whatever you want to call it, silicon carbide that's green, as well as silicon, as well as clay and wax. Wax we can get via hot air, of course, as well as the empty honeycombs. You can just convert empty honeycombs into wax, and it's not actually that big of a build to produce this stuff. Now, it does need oleochemicals made out of lard and titanium, which is a bit unfortunate, because that means I have to, spend my creatures on this, spend my eventually I'll probably switch this to Muckmo once I have them set up. They do give a lot of lard, but right now it's Ulrich to bones to lard, converting the bones to lard because it's 1-to-1. Do sap trees have a higher speed? For what? Than Bodos? Nah. There is only one sap tree, and that is 500%. You realize that a Bodo has 4,500%? Guar is 750. Guar is more. Guar is more than sap. But yeah, so this is the oleochems for now, and this is making these empty honeycombs. I think that there will be a better way to get into wax here out of used combs. And you get like bitumen out of this as well. It's weird. I've sort of looked into it, but that's gonna take time to really sort through, and it's tech locked right now. I have to wait for PyScience, which will be what we do today. So I have the advanced castings, which unlocks a lot of genuinely better processing. And then, as you may see down here, I've done a bit of work with copper. Yes, I could use a copper megamine and actually get a ton of copper out of it, and it would save some modules. But an actual copper patch here is going to have a bit more utility for me, because I can just run the belt directly down. I'm using a few units of belt right now. This is producing molten copper down here, as well as grade 4 copper, which I will need more of, and additional copper plates as copper plates. Just the plate production, just copied over from our other area producing copper down into this square. In particular, the molten copper, when combined with advanced castings, can give a rather large quantity of of stuffs, if I can remember where I'm making the stuffs. Here, hello. Copper cables. You can actually direct cast from molten copper cables now, with hot air processing, with a bit of borax and the advanced castings. I did go and compare this process to this process, and using the advanced castings does require less molten copper than any productivity module, any amount of productivity in here. See, even at max vanilla productivity at 85.8, that's still more than this hot air process in here at 71.5. Now, if you are using Bob's modules, yeah, don't do this if you're using Bob's modules, because this is not productive. But if you are using vanilla modules, it is going to be much better, especially at this point in the game where you only have Mark II and level 1 on these modules. Hi, Dolly. Meow. Yeah, how's my baby girl? How's the baby girl? Oh yeah, and of course, if you do have Bob's modules, well, yeah, mines. Mines are good. So, yeah, ore is trivial at this point. I am bringing those copper cables to the mall in particular because, you know, these things eat copper cables like crazy. These electric engine units. They eat so many cables. Like, holy crap, they use so much. They use so much copper. It's insane how many cables they go through. So I'm bringing the cables in from advanced casting. Just because that's the best available to me right now. What else? I have concrete in the mall. As it turns out, there's this convenient iron ore patch just sitting in the area where I have my mall. And so I brought some ore up and over to actually make concrete here. This is the only place it's being used, so I may as well make it here. What else? I have made as Mark II, or I have set Mark II for silver production. I don't have enough silver production, even with essentially doubling it, bringing in the new lines of lead. Lead is definitely going to be one of those things that needs to go to high grade at PyScience. I have upgraded titanium to Mark II as well, doubling the processing of titanium. It's not quite given a full red belt, and as you can see, it's even then still not enough to start accruing. So I will need to go and probably double this still and get more red belt lines of the ore brought in. Fortunately, my limitation is no longer acetylene on this. It's just the space to place the infrastructure. And it's not that much space for this infrastructure, so I can just do it whenever I want. Just general, I've upgraded my PCB2s to Mark II buildings, but that's not that big of a thing to mention. The last points before we dig into the meat of the process today to actually get into PyScience, last like 3 things really. One is that I am now producing gasoline on the train network somewhere. Somewhere I have done gasoline. I will have to remember it's here. It's here. This will change in the next tech level, once I unlock a new recipe for the olefins. For right now, I am producing light oil via shale oil via bitumen with tin chromium alloy, which that production will also change when I get the molten access, the molten casting of this. But yeah, olefins, there is a recipe that lets you convert aromatics directly into olefins. A one-to-one, not really one-to-one, but a one input to one output process. I think it is anyway. It might need hydrogen or something. I don't remember. But it'll save on my carbon dioxide as a result, even though carbon dioxide is technically also just aromatics now. It's aromatics to biomass to carbon dioxide and then to olefins. It cuts a few of those steps out and saves some power in the process. But this is producing gasoline through light oil, olefins, and hydrogen. Not that much, though. Not particularly that much. Why did I set up the gasoline? Because there is one more Megamind type that I have not mentioned that does consume a fluid, and that is, of course, the Uranium Megamine. If I can remember where I tapped a Uranium Megamine, that would be great. I tapped one of them, and it was right near a train station. It was not this one. I have to try to either remember or search. That's not the button that I wanted. That's not the button that I wanted. You. Here. Where was here? Ah, next to seaweed. Ah. This mine looks cool, but the audio is awful. The audio has not been done correctly on this. The actual machine sound is coming only out of the right speaker, and the Geiger counter sound is coming out of the left speaker. It isn't mixed. It's stereo, and it sounds wrong because you only get the freaking machine noise, constant machine noise out of one ear, and then the occasional like Geiger counter stuff on the left, and it's just disorienting. But this absolutely respects the 1 gasoline per second that this, or per cycle that this needs, meaning that if I wanted to get the full 460 units per cycle out of this building, I would need 460 gasoline per second. So there is a cost associated with this, just like there would be an equivalent cost in sulfuric acid if I was tapping a standard uranium patch as well. So not as powerful with the uranium mine, but hey, as long as you've got the fluid to throw at it, you can totally get all of the ore in the world. But you do need that infrastructure for the fluid production, in which, in this case, to make this fluid would require a lot of tin and chromium. Significant amount of tin and chromium, unless I can figure out a better way of getting into light oil, essentially, which a lot of those options will open up once I have PyScience. So, PyScience, the third thing that I have left to mention, the final thing that I have left to mention, is that I have set up cotton gut studs between episodes so that today's stream can go smoothly. We don't have to wait around for cotton gut studs to actually set up the cotton guts, because our mission today to get into PyScience will need to include setting up cotton gut production. This also involved having to set up Moondrop on the train network, and I've just siphoned off my Moondrop excess from methane to get them onto the trains in here. I will need to set up like a dedicated moon drop production, but that's basically just this part of the build. It's just this part of the build, but I would like to have Mark II buildings as well going into that, and that will require Science to do that. First off, let me get a few Mark II Prandium labs. So let's go ahead and get those. That's really all I need because everything... Oh, I will need steel. Let us not forget about the steel plates that I will absolutely need to make the barrels, the water barrels for this. We made the food last time, we made the bedding last time, and I have the moon drop. And now that I have the studs, we're good to go. We're straight up good to go on this. And I already have the Yadels, so really all that's left is just putting it all together. Now, question I'm having is, do I put it all together all in one place, or do I separate it out by... Or do I separate out the Perogen solidified Sarcoris into a separate build with the cytostatics as well? And Decalin and like all this stuff here. I think for now I'm going to keep them all together, but just realizing that over time things will change dramatically, in particular when it comes to this Perogen solidified Sarcoris setup. Yes, this is going to overproduce on the Perogen. I will be overflow voiding on the Perogen for now. Because really at this scale, it's not that painful. The stuff that I'm consuming to get into it isn't particularly awful. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I've got plenty of production of these things. I'm okay with effectively voiding a piece of titanium and Nexlit. And some glass. And some of these plasmids, which, you know, will get easier with better Zogna, or better ability to get into the petri dishes and things, because there's a lot of the buildings that go into the production of Zogna when I have Science are going to get some productivity, a bunch of productivity, and that will compound, shall we say, over time. If I go into Zogna, we have to think about that the final building, the incubator itself, is going to get a plus 22%. This is going to get a plus 22% productivity bonus on it. I believe that's at this next tech level at Science. And then producing the petri dishes. Oh, it looks like these aren't going to be all that great. So at least it gets 22% here, at least. And then several of the things that will use the Zogna. That's it. Several of the things that will eventually be using the Zogna, like the bioreactor, will also be getting extra productivity by tech. So it's not going to be as painful in the long term for getting into this stuff, but it is right now. It is right now quite painful. And let's see. I was looking at Science. Come on, let's go back. I will be needing what other buildings? I will of course be needing. You know what? We'll come back. We'll come back for this part. I will get Cotton Guts on their own separate factory, and that separate factory is going to be done over here. But first, I need to pick up the actual modules. I need a few of them. I need 480. I have 14,000. So yeah, I think I've got a few of these studs. Now the thing to mention with the studs, they do eat sea sponge sprouts rather than sea sponges. So the bioreactor will also eventually get productivity assigned to the bioreactor, which is great. Especially great with sea sponges, being able to get more sprouts per sea sponge. But this thing just uses so much stuff. It's eating the food. It's eating the moondrop, which of course I will need for the actual cotton guts as well. But you have to produce pups, and then you have to raise the pups into studs. That's the cycle here for producing additional studs. You consume studs, and you get at least one back to produce the pups. You have a 50% chance of getting the extra one back to get both of your pair back, because you get 2 in and then 1.5 out. So you still need to bring a few in to keep the cycles going. And you need bedding. You need the bedding. This is where the bedding was required. Fundamentally required. Could have done a different recipe for the actual cotton gut production that didn't use bedding, but we're going to use bedding because I have it at this point. And yeah, just making tons of studs. Tons of studs. Also, you have to manually put in all 40 cotton gut into this particular building, because if you try to control click on this building to put in the modules, it shoves all of them into the ingredient slot instead. So I'm going to take those and be on my way, and don't need to necessarily copy this over here, because really I just need 12. It'll just be one line going down with a building producing water right next to it. Ah, my enemy. The greatest enemy in the universe. The tree! All trees must die. So as you could probably tell with the lack of the amount of work that needs to be done to get into PyScience, we are definitely going to have it today, even though I spent a half an hour talking about things that I did off screen. Ah, boy, yeah. I don't know what I'm going to really do on the rest of the stream. I think it's going to be working on setting up basic uranium refining, just because I want fuel rods. I really, really want... Oh, that's a shame. Oh, I don't like losing one of these. I don't like losing this. I know I've got more. I know I have more of these elsewhere, but dang. By the way, that's another mega mine that I will be absolutely making use of. That you can throw in Bodos, and it doesn't cost syngas, so you've got infinite phosphate rocks, essentially. Several hundred per second of phosphate rocks coming out of that into a warehouse or a deposit. Depot. It's a depot. Yeah. Good stuff's coming. I like not having to spend syngas. It's always nice not having to spend things. Unfortunately, the Megamind does not unlock until PyScience. Okay, 12 of these. 4, 5, 6, 12. We can count. Oh. I only brought 10. I didn't realize. Oh, you're making 2. I need 1, but I'm making 2. Just so we're clear on that. Just so as we are aware, I am in fact making more than I need. So it doesn't matter that I don't have those 2 buildings right now. I'm still going to have more than I need. But I will need more when I get more Pi Science. When I scale the Pi Science, which I eventually may scale the Pi Science. We shall see how much I keep stockpiled. By the way, on the previous stream, Pyandon made a comment. Pyandon watched last stream. Probably watches them all. I don't know. At least bits and pieces. Saying that he liked my idea. Which tells me nothing, because I sort of came up with several ideas last time in regards to a rumor that there may be additional Pi Science coming to the mod set at some point. Additional ranks of Pi Science to go along with like an alternate Pi Science for purple, another Pi Science for yellow science, which I stated several ideas for how to go about doing that in a way that will increase engagement with the features of the mod pack. Yeah, so there's someone brought up that there was apparently thoughts about adding additional Pi Science packs, additional varieties of Pi Science packs to go alongside the to go with purple and to go with utility, at least 2 more levels of science packs. And I was like, okay, well, one of them should need phytomining, and one of them should need the smart farms, ideally. I need a 3rd input. Just ideally, those would be the big things, and one of them should probably require perfect samples. The one that goes with utility science should require the perfect samples, as well as a way of requiring smart farm mining, likely through the introduction of a new form of plant. Just some plant that you can only get by smart farming. Because smart farming opens at utility science, I think. Yeah, so smart farming is utility science tech. And you've got all these various options on smart farming, not all of which are perfect. But things like Tufra gets rid of the need for the manure bacteria. That's huge. That's huge. Not needing the bacteria to get the Tufra anymore, and you can get the Yotoi aloe and the fruit out of smart farming. You can get Renea out of smart farming, the Relesia, the Cacao, Grodd, Aurum, all the main plants. The only thing that you don't need here is bioreserve. You don't need to make more bioreserves because they are a mined resource already. If for some reason you don't have enough, it's there as an option. And I really do plan on... I should have had these be the other way. I do plan on doing smart farming when we get there. It's just that there would be it would be nice to have it be a requirement. It would be nice for it to be a requirement. You don't have enough biosamples? Excuse me, but what? You can put a Bodo in a collector. You do know this, right? And it gives you 9.2 per second per collector with a Bodo in it. And you can beacon 80% efficiency. So as long as you have a bioreserve, you should be okay for a while, depending on the density of that bioreserve. You should be okay. And there's only one collector, so there's no Mark II. Yet. I should say yet, just in case. There should be a Mark II, 3, and 4 collector, honestly. But we shall see if that comes to fruition at any point. So this line... Yeah, it needs to do that. I need to filter the empty barrels out the right. They go that way. Get a factory. You are filling water barrels. Ta-da! Just add barrels. And go fast. And... box. Oh, Mark II Bodos. Okay. That's better. That's even better. How far do the Bodos go again? I don't remember. How much do they go? 6,000. Oh boy, at Mark IV. They get an extra 500 per tier. That's not that much. I'll be honest. Considering you do only get the 4 modules at Mark IV, that's not a huge bonus, but I mean, I guess it's worth attempting to do. How do you even upgrade them? You can only get... Okay. Oh, goodness. Are you stuck at the, like, 0.5% chance? I need to look at this. So you get... Where's the initial spore? Where's the initial... Okay, the 0.5% to get a Mark II spore from a Mark I using Mark III fuel rods. That's easy. That's so easy. It's just you have to wait for the 0.5%. And then here, you have to wait for the 0.5% to give you 5 of them. But once you have 5 of them, you get a Mark II Bodo, guaranteed, out of that. And then you can spend the Mark II to get 6.4 of the spores. And then it cycles. And then it cycles to back to here, where you put in 5 of those spores, you get out a Bodo, you get more spores than you put in, etc., etc., but you have to wait for this. So, fortunately, Bodos are one of the few, quote-unquote, that are actually complete. Quote-unquote complete. Alright, let's bring in some stuff. This is going to be Cotton Gut food at Cotton Gut. S Cotton Gut. R Moondrop at Cotton Gut. And what was the last one? R Bedding at Cotton Gut. D Cotton Gut. And bedding. Bedding. Let there be bedding. And, that's it. We are done. SD. Full cargo, circuit ignition, auto magic. Set up Cotton Gut. Where do they live? Here. There we go. Yes, I have 4 depots for chromium. Because I only discovered the I only discovered that this was a thing after having already placed 4 chromium mines. You know, because I needed to have, or I wanted to have access to 8 red belts. And I thought that I could only get 2 red belts per mine. Oh, was I mistaken? Oh boy, was I mistaken. Yeah, you can get 23 red belts per mine. Yeah. Yeah. You can get 23 red belts per mine. Here they come. Our first cotton nuts. Yeah, I was off by a factor of 11.5. Dang, allergies. I have ordered new filters for my my thingy, my air filter. I've got a little air purifier next to me on the floor, but it's needed new filters for a while. I've used the filters that are in there for more than twice as long as I'm supposed to. So yeah, it's time to switch it out. Now I do want to finish with the last 2 buildings down there, so let me get those. But in the meanwhile, also get some other buildings that I need to get into the Pi Science. So I decided that I would do all of this together, meaning I am going to need research labs or centers. I will need the biofactories. I will need the gene lab. I will need the incubator. I will need powerhouses, of all things. And I will need compost plants. Oh, right, I am missing that. I also need to make sure that I have enough pressure pumps to pressure water. Why one would productively pressurize water, I do not know. But it's an option. It is an option. It is an option I think that should be removed. You should not be able to productively pressurize water, especially since there are some uses of pressurized water that will return water 1-to-1. Maybe. Maybe? Or maybe not. If there's not, then that's fine. Then it's fine. Oh, look. There you go. The coal bed processes. They use pressurized water and return the same amount of water. If you use productivity, you have magicked water. You have magically made more water than what you started with. Alright, we have the buildings. So let me get back to here. And then I have to think about where exactly I'm going to build this Pi Science Factory. It needs a bit of a big train station. It needs a train station. A rather large one. So I'm probably going to do it over here. Like, right here. I just came back to the cotton guts to put down those 2 buildings that I missed. Also, these things, like, they make the noises of, like, the things running around on the ground. Like, little scurrying noises. Alright. Cotton guts. They're like mouse-rabbit hybrids. Alright, off we go. It is time. It is time, finally, to work directly on the Pi Science. Let's get this sorted and done. And then I have to have the game run for a very long time before our next stream, so that I actually have the Pi Sciences, all of the sciences done and ready, as many as I can anyway, because the rest of the game opens, you know? That's basically what happens, is that the rest of the game opens and all of a sudden there's infinity things to do again. Alright, how many solids do I need here? I am on matrix solver, so I need to put in a thingy for the water. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that should be 13. That should be 13. Oh dang, I'm not carrying around enough unloaders anymore. Goodbye, you. So I will need a restock. But that's fine. How many fluids? How many fluids do I need? You know what? I should actually just have this in here and put it on the hotbar. I see 1, 2, 2. Because this is supposed to be produced there. The artificial blood and the aromatics. I don't see any other fluid. Okay. That is that. I am just short on the rail, but I need to go back and restock anyway, so I'll go ahead and do that. You there. Oh yes, I did die off screen, by the way. Again. I continue to get run over by trains. Don't worry. It's still happening, and it will continue to happen for the remainder of the series. At this point, though, I end up spawning, like, right in here. like right between tracks, something like that. Because this is the starting area. I spawn like right here, so I'm very close to a spot I can summon my train, summon my personal train when I do die, so it's not as big of an inconvenience. Oh yeah, I have 137 Bodos right now that were made out of the slow way. I had over 200, I think, or at least 180 that were made the slow way. I'm not making Bodos right now. So if you're wondering why once I get through this I want to set up Uranium, it's because I want to set up Bodos, because I want the fuel rods for the Bodos. Granted, while there is a fuel rod recipe that I will be able to unlock with Pyoscience that does not use uranium for the Mark 1 fuel rod, I don't like the niobium cost. To be completely honest, I don't like the niobium cost. I think that's rather expensive. I mean, yeah, uranium is also relatively expensive, but I think I'm okay with it. The thing that makes the uranium very expensive is the fact that it uses iron ore dust. In particular, it also uses an extreme amount of sulfuric acid, which for me and how I make the sulfuric acid would mean a lot of iron plates as well. But you know, it's pretty easy to scale the iron. Pretty easy for me to scale the iron. I don't know if I mind exactly. Now, that being said, if all I wanted was, rather than the 40%, the 20%, we can get away with that just fine to make Mark 1 fuel rods. The problem comes in by the fact that I will need, of course, Mark 2 and Mark 3 fuel rods at some point. Now, the Mark 2 fuel rods, those I believe do need the 20%. Yeah. So we absolutely 100% need to get 20% powder for Mark 2 fuel rods for super steel. It is required to get into the initial molten super steel recipe, but just the initial. And apparently Bodo's Mark II is using them as well. And then the Mark III variety will need the 40% powder, and we will need the Mark III variety to get into the more efficient stainless steel, molten stainless steel recipe when that unlocks. And apparently Bodo's Mark III. And then, of course, we do need the Mark IV for the Bodo's Mark IV, and the Mark V to get into the best super steel mix recipes. Yeah, but that's going to use yellow cake. The Mark IV uses 70%, but we're going to need 70% for the heavy fermion material. And lots of it. And lots of it. But, you know, and that is going to mean spending a ton of iron. Which is why I think that the 20% is tempting, even though it only gives 4 fuel rods, just because this spends more uranium ore, this spends infinitely more iron ore, especially, and then on top of that, I need more iron ore dust for getting the 70% powder and the yellow cake. Like, I will already have a huge expense in iron ore dust, this would just add to it if I'm getting all of my fuel rods out of this. But we could just say, well, because I need a lot of it anyway, what's more? What's even more? If I already need infinity, what's infinity on top of infinity? It doesn't matter as much. So my problem here is that this uses niobium. This does not use niobium. Which would I rather spend between niobium and titanium? Titanium. 100%. 100% I would rather spend the titanium. So I will go with the 20% uranium for the Mark I fuel rods, so that I don't have to spend my niobium on it. Niobium plates on it. I'm going to do the best I can to not have to spend niobium plates. I would rather spend complex. If I can spend complex instead of plates, or not have it at all, that would be a more preferable situation. Because, you know, I don't want to have to spend ammonia and salt on making these plates if I don't have to. And I am going to get access to a niobium pipe recipe using advanced castings that will use complex rather than the actual plates themselves. And, you know, the advanced casting recipe for the multi-purpose pipes doesn't even use niobium. What tech was that under? I've forgotten already. Yeah, it's this. So the multi-purpose pipe casting using advanced casting is copper and plastic. And the pipe to ground is copper and castings. You know, as opposed to the actual recipe that uses niobium, rubber, and plastic, and the pipes. Niobium and rubber. There's no rubber here, or niobium. And the actual niobium pipes, yeah, those are going to use rubber and complex. Rubber and complex to make the niobium pipes. I'd rather spend the rubber than the ammonia, to be honest. So that will become a thing. There's also, you know, advanced casting for drill heads. I don't want to do that if I don't have to do that, because it's stainless steel. But I will if I have to. I will at some point have to, because I would like to do some stuff that involves spending drill heads as like recipe requirements, things I think involving kerogen. Yeah, I would like kerogen. I would like infinity kerogen. Looks like I can just dodge the drill heads though, if I'm willing to spend either super steel or super alloy. Yeah, I would like this because it gives me a way of directly getting into gasoline, shale oil, crude oil, and natural gas. It's great for shale oil because that's just fuel rod Mark I plus kerogen into shale oil. We can think of it as if each unit of these is 500 out. Well, that's a lot of shale oil. That's a lot of shale oil. And then you can just direct a ton of hot air. That's a lot of hot air to make gasoline. Just saying. And that's a lot of hot air for that much crude oil, and that's a lot of hot air for that much gas, although less hot air than the other stuff. No hot air here. I am using the empty honeycombs. Because I needed wax to get into good alien samples, I had production set up of empty honeycombs. I just put them onto the train network. I scaled it out a little bit and put them onto the train network. Yeah. Right now it's this, because this is the only way. This is the only option at the moment. Okay, let's get this down. With its water source. Okay, that's done. That's done. Give me pressured water out of that too. Break that. Make it a little bit lower. Give it some power. Ta-da. Pressured water. Tua Ayua. Give me aromatics. Which the entire base should be using aromatics to produce the biomass by now. I remember having to I had to repair a few things because there was stuff that was using the logs that, for whatever reason, decided not to elegantly switch over to the aromatics, even though I put aromatics in and removed the logs. There weren't any more logs, it's just the recipe wouldn't switch for whatever reason. There we go. Bring me those stuffs. Oh, and by the way, I am in fact making, I believe, 5 castings. Where's the thing? I am making 5 castings per second. It's just a few units of advanced castings. That 5 silicon carbide and the 5 silicon should be like the things that you're screaming about, not the wax. I have scaled up the silicon carbide, the green silicon carbide, significantly. I do have it on dedicated production somewhere. I don't remember. Where is it? It's here. Hello. Hello, green silicon carbide. It is here. I have a few of these electric arc furnaces producing a red belt or a green belt. I've forgotten. I did scale it. It is a yellow belt. Red belt or green belt, excuse me, a yellow belt. Red belt or yellow. So it's yellow, 15 out from 30 powdered quartz being brought in by train from an area where I'm making 30 powdered quartz. Of course, I'm not using all 15, but hey. I'm using only the 5. And the silicon I have not scaled, but it wasn't getting used fully as it stood. I think I built more than I needed to begin with. I think I built a yellow belt out of the silicon, overbuilt on the silicon inherently. So yeah, I have enough of those things, and it's fine. It works. It's worked out. And I'm only using a little over half of the sandcasting production on the humongous amount of copper cables, which I'm barely even using right now. I still have to modify the base, like find where I'm like making cables in factories and replace them with a train input of the cables. Alright, this thing. I need 2 of you, or 2 of you-y. Give me that. And give me... Whoops. That. Power. And there you go. We are making subcritical. Subcritical water, the magical. Subcritical. Not to be confused with supercritical, but not to be confused with supercritical steam. We're talking about subcritical water. Hello and welcome. I am making pie science. It shall happen. It shall happen today. This is going to be used on the Pyandon step. Do you need a solid? Oh yeah, you need 2 solids. Oh boy. Well then. They will come in here on a shared belt. Please tell me that I can easily do this. There we go. Why am I not using FNEI? Because I despise its interface? I use what is it really used for? Which is, in my opinion, far superior to FNEI. FNEI has a dumb design. Like, if I'm searching for Pyandon, I want to know what makes it and what's it used in. And I don't want to have to cycle through page after page after page after page after page of each one of these things just to see what's there as ingredient and product. Like page after page after page. No, I want to have it all listed out in a nice window like that. And then just be able to click on it to bring up the information about it. Anyway. Nexlet and titanium. I don't believe they're used in anything else here. It all comes down to the UI. How it was designed. I know that they do very similar things, and I know that FNEI is very popular, but I think that's just because people haven't used what is it really used for. I'm sure that if people used what is it really used for, they may find that they prefer this UI over FNEI. And I'm sure the same argument can be made against me with using Hellmod. That, oh, if you used Factory Planner, you might prefer that over Hellmod, but you know what? At this level of complexity of a thing to learn, I think I'm gonna stick with the thing that I've learned rather than having to learn a new thing. Request, what was it? Nexlet at Pi Science. And request titanium at Pi Science. Give me Nexlet. Give me titanium. Excuse me. I must need an additional train. Yeah, I think I need another train on here. Because I've got 15 per second of production of Nextlet. I've got enough on that. The titanium is just insufficient. I'll need more production there. You know what? You go ahead and be a Nextlet train for me. Supply, depot, full cargo, circuit condition, go. And that will produce the Decalin, which is going to get used in the Gene Lab next. There we go. Plastic, glassware, plasmids, sea sponge. Throughputs are fairly low. Give power. Oh, there's an Exilate. Will I need anything for anything else? I will need the glassware elsewhere. I will need glassware plastic elsewhere. Okay. Pi block versus C block? Pi block only because it gives you an actual ability to make the landfill in adequate amounts. It gives you access to very high production rates on the landfill, which I much prefer. You don't have to think as much about sacrificing your production to make landfill to expand your base. C block just starts way too slowly. That being said, I finished a C block playthrough. I didn't finish a Pi block playthrough because no one watched it. No one has yet to watch it. Like, oh my goodness, I go and I look at my stats on that Pi block playthrough and I'm like, this is still at like 12 views on videos. Like, not even kidding. I put all the VODs up on the channel. Pi block, show all. There are 64 videos in that series, and yet, let's see, the last one got 398 views on a video that old. It should be in the 1,000 range. And then there are videos mostly single digits. They're mostly single digits, or double digits, I should say. Is there any with single? Like, I see one that's like 39. Like, huh. It's just comparatively to the other series that I've made, it's just not enough. It's nowhere near what it should have been. And there were days where I was getting like 1 viewer, 2 viewers live at the time. So it's like, okay, but no, I can't continue that. Yeah, the electric, the high-tech trains are really, really nice. Yeah, it is way less popular. but also it's, you know, who's searching the term pi block? More people search Pyanodon than they do pi block, so that was a mistake on my end. I should have had Pyanodons written out in the titles from the start. It was also really, really early, like still testing level of stuff. What am I even doing? It doesn't go that way. It doesn't go that way. Okay, glassware, plastic, plasmid, sea sponge. Glassware, plastic, plasmid, sea sponge. Okay, not quite the way that I would have wanted it to be, but I'll live with it. Okay. Our glassware at Pi Science. Our plastic at Pi Science. What was the other stuff? I need plasmids. Those are plasmids, right? Yes. And our sponges at Pi Science. I was supposed to take a break, but I'm not going to. I don't feel the need. My alarm went off like 7 minutes ago. It's like, I'm feeling all right. Okay. Now, special thing on the stuff here. I will need to split this off, and I will need to split it off again. And I will need to filter glassware. Oh boy. Because this needs just the glassware and not the plastic, but it's got 4 ingredients on it. So I want to combine it with something else. Probably cotton guts. Yeah, cotton guts, definitely. And it will need the cytostatics, these guys, and then something else in, which will be the biosamples. So I need cotton guts. Wait. Yeah, cotton guts and the biosamples. I don't know why that says the stud Mark 1s. It's actually just the cotton guts, not the studs. So cotton gut and biosample are next, of which I want the cotton guts first. Alright. Our cotton gut at Pi Science. Our biosamples at Pi Science. The next thing is going to be a shared belt. Whoops. For seaweed and Yadles. And then the last three are the pore samples, neuroprocessors, and moss. But we'll get to those. For now, I need to bring in the cotton gut. I need to bring in the biosample. And I may as well bring in the seaweed. And the Yadle. Oh. Ta-da! Alright. So that will cover those solids. I still need to add in the water and the blood. Artificial blood. Made out of blood. Whoops. There we go. Artificial blood. Go, go, go. Be free. Make me cytostatics. We're now done with cytostatics. As well as the Perogen and solidified Sarcoris, for that matter. Okay. Fun part. I need to split them, remerge them, and overflow void them. Which I'm realizing that I don't have anything here. I do have a solid fuel. Yes, thank goodness. So there's that. I don't want to lose any units. For now, I will actually just close that while I work. Alright, give me flavonoids. I need the flavonoids. The flaviest. Here we go. Yes, Dolly. Twitching. She's twitching. Yeah, pretty girl. Pretty girl behind me. Yeah. And finally, the actual buildings themselves. By the way, I have to manually place because, yeah, when I get the technology that that upgrades these to having productivity as part of them through this system, the technological upgrade and research device, it will not automatically add the hidden beacon to the machines that have been placed by nanobots. How do I know this? Because I had to go and plop down, replace every single slaughterhouse in my entire base when I took mercy killing. Because, yeah, I took mercy killing, and I got 20% productivity on every single slaughterhouse in my entire base. And no, it does not impact the cages. Only the output, the main output. So, yeah, about that. See, nearly every single one was placed by Nanobot. So I had to go over, pick up, put down, reassign the recipe, every single one across the entire base. Not as bad with the research centers, because there's very few of those. It will be more of a pain with the biofactories, the incubators, the gene labs, etc., and the compost plants as well. That'll be actually, I think, the biggest pain, actually. So let's get the flavonoids sorted. 1, 2, 3, plus 1. Gotcha. 1, 2, 3, plus 1. Oh boy, and what's the throughputs? Throughputs are fine. Outputs will be fine as well. Because, we're only making, 0.2 per second. Grand total. Enjoy the stuffs. Oh boy. So that means that one of the input pair can be shared. And then, yeah, one of them needs to be this. So that covers the glassware plastic. Now we need poor alien samples, neuroprocessors, and moss. It doesn't really matter which is which. Really? I'm out of underground belts? Like, how? Oh, because I'm carrying around 100. I used to carry around 200. Whoopsies. And I may have used a few. Oh yeah, I've used I've used a few. Whoops. Okay. Which is which? The further one is the close one, so actually, no. There you go. Better. Alright, this will be the... what? Neuroprocessors? Or the moss? Moss, actually. Bring me the moss. And lastly, our poor samples at Pi Science. And that, as they say, is that. Oh boy. Just gotta wait for the things to arrive, and we'll be done. Although, I'm thinking about this, and I want to do this a little bit differently. I want you to go into a box. Both of you. Just in case. Just in case. And then, because I know that I'm not actually done yet, I'm going to go out this way and set up 2 burners. And power it. Ta-da! Now, I think that this will be fine because I am using 1.1 compost plant. Yeah, we'll be fine. We shall be fine. The Pi Science exists. It exists now. We have some. It's moving. It's moving slowly, but it is moving nonetheless. Oh my goodness, he's only gone a nut it. Alright, get it on a train. Load her up. Whoops. Supply, depot, full cargo, circuit condition, automatic, assign. To Pi Science. Save it. Find my science lab processing. Oh, wait. Vehicle? Do you happen to have? Yes. Vehicle happens to have. Has all of the underground belts that I need. And a heck of a lot more. It looks like I already have the spot for Pi Science or Mill Science, whichever ended up coming in first. So our Pi Science at Science. Pi Science. All right, we're good to go. The science is ready. It will now start processing all on its own. Okay. Sigh of relief. We are done now with that. Barring anything unforeseen happening at that area. Next, I would like to set up uranium ore processing. At the very least to the 20%, I think. At the very least to the 20%. If not to the 30, or the 40, excuse me. I think for the moment I'll leave it at 20 because it's going to need a lot of this sulfuric acid as well and all that steam. Holy heck, that's a lot of steam. It's also a lot of buildings processing a red belt of uranium into this, so we'll go ahead and set this up. It shouldn't take too long to set up, at the very least to get to the 20%. It's just a shame that it's so slow, but at least it's consistent on the on these building counts. Like I can say that at least it's consistent. I don't need these actually. If I'm sticking to the 20%. And this will make a lot of fuel rods as well. I will need to deal with sand, though. Which sucks, because that means I have to bring in a solid fuel. Because unfortunately, while there's very easy ways of dealing with stone and gravel as outputs, that dealing with the sand is not particularly easy. You can convert it to pure sand, but there's no consistent way of making wastewater to thicken it into tailings. If there was a way of just making wastewater, maybe, maybe, just like on demand, instant wastewater, there might be a way around it. But most of the ways I've looked at that sort of deal with sand are not all that great ways of dealing with it. I would love a way to somehow liquefy the sand, but nope, just can't do it. Just can't do it. Anyway, where am I going to set up this uranium processing? It does not technically matter where. It's going to use up a lot of space no matter what I do. So I want a free block. I have 2 free blocks here. Right up here. Am I okay deleting what's in these blocks? 2 of them. No. Yeah, we're going here. We're going over here. Probably building right around there. Yes. Off we go. And remove. Eep. Remove this stuff. This stuff. This stuff. This stuff. I might tap those 2 nodes, we shall see. I don't think I'll tap the copper one, but you never know. Having a billion units of copper just sitting there, able to give me up to 23 red belts worth of stuff. Granted, I will get much faster belts. It will become extremely easy to access the full throughput of a Megamind as we go along. And of course, as I upgrade my Bodos and get Bodos, it'll be really easy. Really easy. All that being said, I think I'm going to remove you. Because I want the space for this output. I know that I need another input, but I'm going to put that down there. We're going to put the other inputs way down here. There will be additional inputs as we go. But you're going to be requesting the coke. You are requesting uranium ore. And you're going to be supplying 20% uranium. Or U20. I'll just call it U20. DU20. Alright. That is gonna be that for the moment. We have completed these things. I will need to add to my to-do list. Go ahead and pin that. And working our way only to the 20% powder output in this case. I'll leave some space so I can do some work with that copper, maybe. Okay. This will look a little bit nicer, I think, as we go along, rather than having just the one big line. Basically, 6 plus 6 plus 1.3 is not quite 15. I could get away with one line of 12, but it's not going to look all that great. I mean, yeah, it can be more compact, and I could scale it a little bit more easily, but the trees. The trees! They're in the way. They're my enemy. They've always been the enemy. Alright, so I did this because of the scaling plan. I want to be able to easily snake in some stuff. Sadly, these also have to go. They're in the way of my building. Just cleaning up the map. Walking over there, clearing out the little bits of the non-existent aluminium over there. Huh? There we go. Huh. So you'll see in the end what I'm talking about here as I go along. This needs to filter stone. To the right, I'm gonna have a washer here. Doing the stone recipe. It will load in the stone. It's not going to be compact. Let me do that. Okay. That'll be a little bit more compact in the end. Uranium! It glows! Of course it glows. Alright. From here, impact crushers. From there. Whoopsies. Ahem. Filter. Grade 1. Uranium. Excuse me. Yes. Grade 1. Two. 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Power to the everything. And filter. the gravel to the right. This goes there. Switch to the gravel-based recipe. That goes there, that goes over, those go there. Should I use a splitter? I don't think it matters. Going up. 12 of these buildings now. 1, 2. Are we aligned? Nope. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm pretty sure that there would be a way to do a direct insertion if these are truly one-to-one. It's not quite truly one-to-one. It's close enough. It's close enough. The first two are a direct one-to-one, though. But you have to deal with the extra outputs and such, which could be a bit of a pain. Will absolutely be a bit of a pain. Not just can be, will be. And these produce sand as a byproduct, and the sand needs to be deleted from the face of existence by using some fuel. So we'll deal with the fuel and the burning after the quote-unquote final step. Which is to screen out the 20% plus additional sand. There we go. You're a crushing. Crush the everything. Now, the thing about this build is that I will not be expanding this specific build to do 40% or 70% uranium. This is going to exclusively make 20%. If I want 40%, I'm going to copy the whole thing and paste it next door, and then tack on the extra stuff to get to 40%. And then the same thing with the 70%. I will copy everything to 40, paste it down, and tack on what I need for the 70%. And then for the yellow cake, copy the whole thing to 70% and tack on what I need to make the yellow cake at the end. If you think that's going to need a lot of space, you would be correct. It will need a lot of space to do that. But by the time I'm doing that, I will have access to at least Mark III buildings, if not Mark IV, at the very least Mark III, though. So it will not require quite as many, as much height, but it will require the same width, no matter what. Okay, and then that's the escape. And then, close that. We have the burners. How much sand? Up to 5.8. Ooh, boy. Oh, boy. So that is a traditional 3-step. So each burner can burn up to 3.3 units per second of whatever they're burning. Just so as we're aware of that. Meaning that I needed more than one. And just bring in the fuel, and we are basically done at this point for making 20% powder. Just need to delete this sand so that it can continue to move. Also, none of this can take productivity. It's rather unfortunate, but none of it is productive at all, with no further upgrades to output. There's likely productivity on the fuel rods. Have I made a thing for fuel rods yet? Probably not. Fuel rod. So Mark 1 fuel rod. This will be the recipe. So if I want 5. Are you productive? No? Well, that sucks. Well, that sucks. By the way, how many 20% do I get out of this? 7.2. 7.2 per second. And if you're wondering, yes, I absolutely have the ore throughput for this. In fact, I have up to 100 ore per second. Up to 100. And I think I have 60 put onto the train network right now, so yeah, plenty enough. In fact, I could make like 10 fuel rods. Not quite, but close to 10. It's like 9.5. Yeah. It is, in fact, exactly 9.5. But I'm not going to do 9.5. No, I'm gonna start with 5, and we'll go from there, as I may eventually need more. So we still have 43 minutes. Let's get this on a train. Limit it to a single stack, even though I know it's coming in at 7.2. It does stack to 500. That's pretty significant. Did I do? Yeah. So you are U20. Supply, depot, full cargo, circuit condition, automagic. You're moving. Meow. Hi. Yes, Dolly. Repositioning. Repositioning yourself, facing the other direction. Yeah, you wanna look the other way now? Yes, my sweet little girl. Okay, give me the U20. Powder, 20% powder. Save that, and we are now good to set up fuel rods. So let's go ahead and do that, shall we? Fuel rod Mark 1. There was a time, there used to be a time where I was very much anti-spending uranium on fuel rods. But really looking at it now, in the current state of the game, giving it a good chance, and having a look at things, because the 20% uranium does not require any outside inputs, outside of, you know, the little bit of coke to get rid of the sand, I am very much okay with using the 20% powder to make the Mark 1 fuel rods, specifically. I am not okay with using 40% powder to make Mark 1 fuel rods, particularly because it uses so much iron dust and so much sulfuric acid. It's just not viable. especially when I have to use it to make Mark II fuel rods. When it's required for other stuff. And it's a stepping stone on the way to the 70% uranium powder, which we need a nearly infinite supply of for the heavy fermion material, and yellow cake, which we're gonna need for other stuff as well. Yeah, the yellow cake, going all the way down the line to the utility science level of uranium. We need directly to make space science at the end of the game. It is required to win the game, quote unquote win. But hey, there you go. Yeah. What was added to this? There was the strangelets for alien life. And the individual ingredients. Oh yeah, there's this new destabilized Toxorus, which I believe is a you have to launch a rocket to get this. Yeah, you have to launch a rocket. It's a rocket output. All right. So that is a lot of titanium plates. When I don't really have the titanium production for that, now do I? I want to scale the titanium production between videos. I got a tech. You know, I never have paid attention. Does Factorio even have a tech history screen? I don't know why it wouldn't have a tech history screen, but I guess, you know, it just doesn't. I would like to know the techs that I've just taken at a glance. It was a prerequisite to advanced electronics, so it must have been the fuel production tech. Yeah. It was this one. So, huzzah! Huzzah! We got the fuel production tech, which means that we can now make petroleum gas out of aromatics. Oh boy, yes, this is gonna be great. Oh look, it's olefins and CO2 into light oil, aka aromatics into light oil. AKA aromatics into gasoline. Ooh, yeah. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be great. Yeah, I need every tech ever now. I want the upgrade techs. I want better buildings. I want upgraded outputs. Oh my goodness! So much has unlocked here. In particular, the most important thing that I am working on right now on advanced electronics is the abiotic ammonia recipe. Abiotic ammonia. Being able to do this out of nitrogen and hydrogen with a bit of chromium input, as well as having access to the ammonia into cyanic with a bit of methane and coal. This is the way that we will scale cobalt extract. Okay? This is the way that we won't have to spend so much Zogna on making urea. Okay? Like this saves us a lot of pain and suffering because we can now just make our urea directly out of abiotic ammonia. It'll be glorious and beautiful. Or we can make not the urea. We can make ammonia without urea at all. So anytime we need ammonia, I had it backwards. Anytime we need ammonia, which, you know, we need it for a lot of stuff, we don't need to spend urea on it. We can spend our urea on the things that actually need urea rather than the things that need ammonia. So yeah, things like the PPD become so much better. The niobium becomes so much better. Formamide becomes better. Nitrobenzene becomes so much better with abiotic ammonia. Granted, it's a ton of nitrogen. It's a lot of nitrogen, but we'll deal with that. We'll deal with it. It will be fine. We'll be okay. I just need a spot here to get some fuel rods going. And I'm thinking, ooh, that's actually a really good spot for diamonds. It's actually a really good spot for diamonds. So is that. So is that. So we'll stick this here. Excuse me. Tree. Go away. Trees are the enemy. Ta enemy. We're gonna make fuel rods. Mark 1. Because this fuel rod Mark 1 is the last thing that we need to set up Bodos. Glorious Bodos. Do I have a plan on Bodos? I am not seeing it at a glance, so Bodo. Okay, while we do... I shouldn't actually make the plan for the Bodos because we are going to unlock techs that give me better Bodo recipes. Yeah, it's going to give me access to improved substrate recipes on Bodos. I think that 7 one is going to be the one I go with because I don't feel like spending 5 manure to get 1 Bodo. Yeah, we're going to do the... Now, 10 ash is absolutely worth it. So yeah, we'll do the ash improved substrate recipe. If I can find it. There it is. And we will have Mark II buildings for this. So if I want, I don't know, 5. Maybe not 5, but hey, gotta start somewhere. We'll have the 0.6. I think we unlock the 0.8, don't we? When do we unlock the 80% output on the spore stuff? Not there. There. So yes, we will. We will get the 80%. Oh boy. Oh boy, we will get the 80% recipe. That's even better. It changes very little. It just changes the amount of collectors you need on spores. Yeah, that's looking all right to me. I don't know about you, but that looks okay to me. The ash will come from flue gas. Will come from biomass. Will come from aromatics. And yeah, you can probably tell how simple this is once you have fuel rods. So simple, in fact, that I will, in fact, set it up off screen, just because it's I need them as modules. Cough, cough. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I need them as modules. I don't really have a use for them at the moment outside of modules. What do I need the Bodo for? It's a food for something. Oh yeah, these. And they're there are other recipes that need them. Oh, there's actually cotton gut recipes that eat Bodos. Interesting. Yeah, the Fagnot food itself. Ah, yes, that's the thing. Calmodulin binding mutant peptides, enzymogens, and PKSs. They're going to need a consistent supply of Bodos. The pineal glands need Scrondrix, which will unlock by tech here. Pretty sure. Scrondrix are among the new creatures at this tech level. At least they should be. Yes, Scrondrix are this tech level. It requires genetics 3 and great samples. Yeah, great alien samples to unlock them. But these are the things. They are the oh gosh, I've forgotten the name. They are dinosaurs, and they will absolutely what's the thing? Parasaur, Parasaurolophus. That's the thing. They're parasaurs. Uh, we need their pineal glands. My brain isn't melting. No, my brain doesn't melt. I make other people's brains melt with spouting off a whole bunch of information that I just pull out of thin air. Yes, dinosaurs. Just you wait until we get the dancing armored tigers. Ahem. Yeah, the Scrondrix are the Scrondrix are dinosaurs. I don't even know what the Augs are, but we've got the horses. We've got horses. Totally horses. We've got the we've got fungus and various other types of fungi, and plants. What other animal am I growing? We've got giant bees. Giant bees, which look more like flying maggots, but bees. Yeah, we've got another couple 100 hours at least in this playthrough. At least a couple 100 hours. We are past the halfway point now. We have passed the halfway point. I can say that with certainty. We have passed the hump, the mid game hump. Now, there are no longer as many raw resources that need to be processed. There are, in fact, I believe, two more raw resources. Technically 3, actually. But the third one is there's options. Diamonds, actually technically optional, but there's diamonds with an entire processing chain. There's vanadium with a processing chain. You can consider gold technically, but it's a branch off of advanced chromium. And there is regolites for getting into helium. And I think I decided on doing the regolites for helium. I'm trying to think what I ultimately decided, or calcinets, excuse me. I'm pretty sure I decided on doing the regolite stuff this time. Previously, I have done liquid petroleum, but yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the calcinets because this is gonna give me 50 helium out for 32.8 regolite. And I'm assuming I didn't productivity any of this, so even less. Versus the 50 out here, which would need, it's not a lot of petroleum, but I was like looking at, oh hey, 18 versus 29 megawatts. I was looking at just, you have to make the petroleum, and it spends activated carbon, 2.2 activated carbon, 1.1 filtration media in here, when I don't have to spend any of that on this. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this for helium when I need it. But yeah, those are like the final like major new processing chains. The only other thing that's going to be really, really complex will be the rest of the uranium processing chain. Going up to the 40% is super simple and very similar to every other ore processing chain that we've done and will be doing. Going from the 40% to the 70% uranium, though, yeah, that's a web of hell. That is genuine uranium enrichment processes, multi-step uranium enrichment processes. So once it's set up, it's fine. You can copy and paste everything over and over and over again, but it's setting it up in the first place and wrapping your head around the complexity of that is problematic. And bear in mind, I have beaten this before. So that, like, keep in mind, this is not my first time playing through Pyandons mods either, including with Alien Life. I have done this before. This line should be this. I guess I could say I do this for a living. I actually don't technically really do much else. I do website work for a university, which is basically just secretarial in nature. I put things onto a website when I am given things and make sure that a WordPress is updated. No, I use my brain to make my life easier, not to make things harder. Otherwise, I do transcription stuff, but I can't really talk about transcription stuff because of NDAs. Titanium and U20. Request titanium at fuel rods. And request U20 at fuel rods. And that is that. Supply fuel rods Mark 1. Depot fuel rods Mark 1. Power. Wow, the uranium arrived before the titanium did. Interesting. I'm going to need another long-headed inserter. Yeah, I need another. There we go. Not productive on these recipes, sadly. But there we go. 5 fuel rods a second. Actually, probably even... It'll give me 6, even though the plan was 5. Because I have all the inputs to supply 6. Can I agree that using HTML isn't coding at all? I've done both. It's just another language. It is a way of coding. I would say that these days you can avoid HTML completely through using things like WordPress and other content management systems. I would say that content management system experts are not coders most of the time. But those who build plugins for these things, who work with JavaScript and other scripting for HTML and work with PHP, are absolutely coders. And those who work with CSS are magicians. So, yeah. Anyway, I've got these fuel rods now. Let me assign the fuel rods. Where do they live? There you are. At least there's the Mark 1s. Save that, and, oh, right, I forgot. I have to actually put them on a train. Uh, 5 times 120 over 2. Yeah, that's fine. Supply and a depot. Flip them. Full cargo. Circuit munition. Auto magic. Go, go, go. Be free! Well, it would appear as if I now have the abiotic ammonia recipe. What else do I want to work on tech? Well, everything. Mining productivity plus 10%. Plus 10%. Yeah, so magically 20% more free. I wonder how that functions. Huh. Well, that's the intent of the design of Pyandons mods. This was built with the intent for a mega base to complete it. Yeah, Pyanodon fully intended the complete scale of this to be what it is. And this is just halfway. This is halfway at this point. Granted, there's still a few creatures I haven't made, so can I really say that we're halfway when I haven't made all of the creatures available to me at this point in time on the train network? Not really, but we're setting them up, quote unquote, soon. I'm thinking I'm going to set up as many as I can, honestly. And due to the nature of setting up animals and the positive feedback loops that you have to wait on, I'm going to work on them off screen for the most part. I've decided. Yeah. Especially plants. Any plants from here on out. Things like the cadaveric aurum, Renea, Tufra, etc. I want to work as much as I can on any inputs that are required for them. At least get the inputs set up together, so that it's really just putting the pieces together to set up the creature builds. It's just that we have now seen several occasions where I have set up a build live with animals, with plants, fish, sponges, and so on, Grodd, Yotoi, where I've had to stop and move on without really finishing the build because it's going to take 2 hours for the actual modules to come online. 2 hours or more for the actual modules to come online. It's why I set up the cotton gut studs early, well before the stream, like between over the weekend. I set these up like first thing so that I could have the modules to set up the build for today. It's like, well, if I'm going to do that, I may as well set up the build and be done with it. This was fine in the case of cotton guts because we could set up together the actual cotton gut part of the build. I'm talking about setting up things like with Corlex, wherever I have them, like setting up this part of the Corlex, and then we set up the milk together because at least I'd have the modules to set up the milk on screen with the Corlex. But when I set up the Corlex for the milk, it's like I set this up, and then I did this while waiting for this, and it was not even online because I was waiting for hours for the Corlex to actually accrue. I don't really have this situation with Muckmo because the intent is to have Muckmo that gets slaughtered. I can't really do this with many of the other animals that exist because the intent is the animals output rather than a thing that the animals make. The Corlex were special in that they make the milk, for example, and the cotton guts are special in that you make the studs as the modules rather than the actual cotton guts. You can think of the cotton guts as the product of the studs in that case. But things like Ziffo, this guy right here, I need it for the blood. The Fagnots, that I would set up. The Fagnots, though, it's the same thing. You slaughter them for their gas bladders, for the heads. Zippier, you set up for the things that they slaughter into. The Kamouts, again, you set them up for the things that they slaughter into. Simics will have other uses. But we also need the Simic blood that you slaughter into. The Bodos. You make the Bodos, you have the Bodos. We're using Bodos for Bodos. We're using Yadels for Yadels. We're using Tufra for Tufra. Kikalk for Kikalk. Grodd for Grodd. The Cadaveric Orm for the Cadaveric Orm. The Yotoi Aloe for the Yotoi Aloe and the fruit. The Nalvins for Nalvins. And eventually the Renea for the Renea. And so on and so forth for all the other creatures and plants that we don't yet have. Scrondrix for Scrondrix. Fat Eye for Fat Eye. Everything else we're using as they are, and we're not setting up a build of Fagnot buildings for that will directly output the specific product. Manure is an exception, but we have manure. We've seen it already. And I'm not sure exactly which thing I'll use in the long term on the manure. And then even when you get to like the perfect samples and such, those are using products of specialized slaughtered animals. It's like, okay, sure thing. Oh yeah, there's Arthurians as well. Like the Arthurians exist for their brains primarily, and as food for other things. Food for Krydron, I think. Yeah, these guys, the Little Shop of Horrors plant. That's literally these plants here, based off of the Venus flytrap, otherwise known as the Little Shop of Horrors plant. It's a toothed plant that eats animals. Oh yeah, dingrets, they exist. We need them for spikes. And we would have to launch them into space, but we avoid that. We are avoiding that on this particular playthrough because I am not going to be updating the mods, and yeah, the space dingret is not going to be required because it makes perfect samples. It makes perfect samples on here, so this whole tech is meaningless to me. Because yes, in this mod, you are able to put a dog into a spacesuit, launch it into space, and then slaughter it for an item that you use for science. Yeah. Anyway, that's a lot of discussion here at the end, really, because I'm waiting on tech, and a lot of what I'll be doing going forward is going to be based off of the new techs that I have access to. And of course, what was I gonna say? There's scaling required. There is scaling required. It's like, and I now have the realization that I can make these megamines output at up to 23 red belts of throughput at a time. So it's like, on top of everything else, now I realize, oh hey, I basically have infinity ore to work with, and I need that infinity ore for specific things like titanium right now. I need so much more titanium right now. And we're getting access at this tech level to all of the high grade processing for basically everything. The most important being silver. Silver with lead. Where's lead? Lead processing. Yeah, this guy. I need this guy so I can get into high grade silver processing. Like, this is required. This is fundamentally 100% required, as well as all of the outside inputs that I need for you, which would be filtration media. And is that it? Is that fortunately going to be it? I don't think so. Cyanic acid, great. Z3 reagent. Oleochems. And more Z3 reagent. Okay, so cyanic, Z3, soda ash, and oleochemicals. Gonna be outside inputs here. And I will absolutely be doing high grade into molten silver, high grade silver into molten. That will need the concentrate. The concentrate needs the filtration media from the solution stage 3, which needs water from stage 2. Solution stage 2. The solution stage 2 needs lime. We need lime. We need oleochems, Z3, more Z3, soda ash, cyanic. So much stuff. But yeah, this is so much stuff. Hey, you know, I'm the one who's found so many exploits that have made the game harder. That's who I am. I'm the one who's played it publicly and showed off all the ways in which to break it, because it's in some ways been over-designed. And there's been problems that have been introduced. And, you know, right now, in this particular playthrough, Pyandon has not been watching live. Used to a while back when on playing other playthroughs. But right now, there is a team of people, not just Pyandon, not just King Arthur. There is a team working on a complete rebalance of all of Pyandon's mods and a complete rework of the tech tree. A full rework of the tech tree. To avoid situations like what I currently have, on filtration media. Filtration media has this recipe for nanofibrils unlocked right now, unlocked on a green science tech. Unfortunately, you are not able to make nanofibrils because it is literally impossible to make mutant enzymes. Because propeptides are locked behind immunosuppressant drugs. So propeptides are an ingredient for the mutant enzymes, which are an ingredient for chitosan, which are an ingredient for nanofibrils, which are an ingredient for this alternate recipe for filtration media that we've had access to for a while. We have the recipe. We can't do anything with it because the ingredients are unlocked at later tech. And this is the kind of thing that appears over and over and over and over again in the tech tree. And fortunately, it's getting fixed right now, but it takes time, and it takes a lot of time. And unfortunately for folks who are waiting for Pi Alternative Energy, you're waiting on that balance update as well, because I believe that the intent is to release both at the same time, the balance update and Pi Alternative Energy, the next big addition to Pyandons mods. So we'll see when eventually this releases, when Alternative Energy releases. All I know is that for the purpose of this playthrough, I will not be updating the Pi mods at the very least. I have integrated one change, just as a reminder. I've integrated a change that is coming that will allow me to access Simics now. Simics, in order to get Simics in the first place, even though they unlock it red and green science, you need tiger DNA samples. Tiger DNA samples, as well as Simic codecs. The codecs we could make with Circuit 2s, but those tiger DNA samples are a problem because they unlock with Thad Eye, which, yeah, Thad Eye, you could get it. Blue Science. You can get Thad Eye at Blue Science. If you have Circuit 2s, you basically have Blue Science. Anyway, the problem was that the codecs used Circuit 3s and not Circuit 2s to make the codecs, which is required to make the tiger DNA sample. So, in effect, Thad Eye was locked behind Circuit 3s. And that is the current state of the game right now in Pyandons mods. You cannot make Simics until Circuit 3s unless you make this adjustment to change tiger DNA samples, the Thad Eye codecs for the tiger DNA samples, to be Circuit 2s instead of Circuit 3s. And that is a change that is coming in the rebalance update that will eventually be released with Pi Alternative Energy. It is a change that is coming, and it's on the GitHub page for Pi Alien Life. So I made this change so that I can have access to Simics earlier than Circuit 3s. As a manual edit, I did make that change. But, oh yeah, Thad Eyes are the dancing armored tigers. They dance on a... what do you even call it? It's a disco floor. They dance on a dance floor that's made up of a whole bunch of segments of, like, lights, like disco lights type of thing. And they dance, and it plays music for the actual building itself. And they take the stage, and they shake, and they shake, and they shake some more. And you get their armor. You get their armor off of that. But you have to slaughter them for the armor, though. I think. Oh no, you can actually just get the armor. Yeah, you put them on the dance floor. And they dance until their armor falls off. They shake until their armor falls off, and you get their carapace. Definitely one of the more unique of the creatures, conceptually. One of the most unique conceptually. Oh yeah, and of course we have the Xenos, which these slaughter into sulfuric acid blood. They are based off of a rather popular movie series. But these will be available. I think they'll be actually available. Yeah, these are actually available immediately. I could tech into this right now and have access to Xenos. Are they viable? They come from eggs. So where are the eggs? Where do the egg come from? Where do first Xeno egg appear? First Xeno egg is at this tech level, which is fortunate. You have to feed the Muckmo. 2 Muckmo and a bunch of food to make Xenos. Yeah, putting the alien in alien life. So, yeah, there's a lot to look forward to at our current tech level. A ton to look forward to at our current tech level. Just by the way. Yeah, a very smart top tier predator. But what do these guys even exist for? They give 4 chitin, and they give sulfuric acid as blood. Otherwise, they're not useful. There are some things in the game that are not actually genuinely useful, and I believe Xenos, unfortunately, are one of those things that currently don't have a particularly good use for when it's a lot cheaper to get into sulfuric acid through other means. You can get chitin through so many other creatures that it doesn't really matter how much this gives. You're spending several Muckmo to make a cage Xeno. You're spending at least 3 Muckmo to make a single Xeno? Nah. Yeah, so there's a lot to go. There's a lot of creatures to go. I will say that if I needed to make perfect samples, I think you need a special Xeno among all these things. I think. I don't remember. Which one was... That's a Corlex. That's a Simic. That's a Zipier. Ah, there it is. Yeah. So you would need a Xeno to make perfect samples to get into standard utility science, the standard recipe for utility science. But I'm gonna vat brain a bit of utility science so that I can do this recipe instead, which completely avoids the need to make perfect samples in its entirety. I will gladly make some utility science out of vat-brain biocomputing in order to avoid the entirety of perfect alien samples, which is why I suggested if additional science packs were made that were pi science equivalents, so what we just made for more biotic focus sciences at the purple and utility science level, why I suggested that the utility science level one should get the perfect samples. In fact, I would move perfect samples from utility science to this new pi science utility equivalent. I would move it from one to the other and not have it be required for both. To force you to do the thing, and then that pi science would fundamentally have to make a thing that's required for space science, have to unlock a thing that's required for space science, you know, so that you have to do the pi science, that utility-based pi science anyway, that you have to do the perfect samples to get to that pi science, to get a thing that you need to make space science in the end and beat the game. Because there are certain things that just don't get used right now. There needs to be Xenos need to give something else to force people to make them. Like, fundamentally, something along the lines of the pineal gland for Scrondrix. That's why they exist, and the Dingrat spike on the Dingrats. Something that they are designed to make outside of sulfuric acid, because there's so many alternative options for sulfuric acid, and you already have an entire plant dedicated to sulfuric acid production in the form of cadaveric aurum. But anyway, with all that discussion out of the way, I've got a long period of time of waiting for text to accrue. Are we actually going to get this 100% on this current tech before I end things off, or does it still need to wait? I think we're going to get it. It will pop, so we can at least see that I'm going to take productivity on these research centers. Although I need to make sure, because sometimes these numbers lie. You... All right, which ones? What do these actually do? So we have 35% productivity on metachemoinformatics. 35. Yep, that is 35%. We get a nothing on material spectronomy for productivity, and then we get a plus 5% productivity on stereopharmacognetics. Okay. Which is interesting. I don't know if that was the intent. Yeah, we're taking the 35% productivity. Thanks. We are absolutely going to take the 35% productivity, which, assuming that this was done correctly, that will improve the output ever so slightly on my pi science. Now, did this elegantly change? That is one of the last things that I want to check here on the pi science. Did this add 35% to the productivity? Yes, in fact it did. We can see we are at 43% productivity now. Right there. Right there. 43% productivity. And it will only get better with better modules. So, yeah, that'll be great. Now, it did vastly lower the speed on here. Although, in order to maintain the output, it looks like I still only need 2, fortunately. The crafting speed is minus 30% now. So that's a difference. That is a noticeable difference. This tech will give me the next options for Simics. The next one gives me better output on formic acid from Vrauk. And then I get access to a prerequisite that I want. And then, you know, Bodo's recipes, mining productivity, etc., etc. The techs, lots of techs, infinite techs required going forward. With that, folks, I'm going to be ending things off for the day today, now that I have Pi Science and have set up 20% uranium, enriched uranium powder, and as a result, Mark 1 fuel rods. I would like to thank you all for watching. This has been Otaku Showboat. If you have enjoyed today's stream, please be sure to do all of the social and engagement stuff down below the video. Ooh, I have Megadars now. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, and hit the notification bell. Consider becoming a member of the channel by hitting the great big blue join button and supporting on Patreon at patreon.com/otakushowboat if you are so inclined and able. I will be back with more on Thursday. Ideally, I'll have a whole bunch of texts ready to go and a plan for Thursday. And I will, of course, see you all then.